So tonight we're prepping the truck here to do an emissions test. So we're getting ready for our 1-year annual. So what I try to do is to keep it out of step with my license and registration. So I register in September and then I do my e-test in November. That way I don't have a problem with getting my sticker each year if I can't pass the emissions. So right now I've got a good feeling this truck's going to be able to pull it off, and it's got no codes right now. So there's a few things you need to think about here to do this. You're going to need some kind of a scanner to check and make sure your vehicle is ready. Then we're going to go through a list of procedures to clear all the monitors. But do this, there's a list of things I've got here written down that you'll need to kind of prepare and make sure your truck's ready. Like you can see, I got 465,000 kilometers on this truck, and it's achievable to pass the emissions. This truck's got the original everything on it except for the turbo and actuator. So one is you'll want to have a fresh crankcase filter in it. You'll want, or at least like follow the intervals. Like if you have one that's got hundreds of thousands of kilometers or miles on it, that's no good. You want to have a correct air filter in it. Some filters aren't pleated very well and they will collapse on themselves and starve the engine. There's a bulletin on that. If your engine is super loud, do the valve lash. I did mine with 10 thou on the intake and 26 on the exhaust. Some people do 10 and 20 for the exhaust, which is like for a non-emissions vehicle. You choose what you want to do. There's some debate about that. You need to have a working turbo actuator. You got to be able to build boost and make power. That's a given. You can't have exhaust leaks. If you've had a bad turbo actuator, you could have pushed out your exhaust gaskets on the exhaust manifold. And then there's another gasket where the turbo elbow meets up with the DPF. That it's just like a round thing. You can change that if it's in bad shape. And then where the DPF and the SCR meet, there's another gasket there. I did a video on that because I think Felpro makes a bad one and you have to cut the corner off of it. But that gasket can get pushed out and that'll end up leaking air into the system and throwing off your NOx numbers. So that's no good. You need to have pretty much all of your monitors ready, which is what this video is about. You want to keep your tank above a quarter tank, and for me, no remote starting. That's not working out in my favor, because when it's cold out, the thermostat doesn't open quickly enough, and then it thinks the thermostat's wrong, and it'll throw a code for that. And don't try and do this in the dead of winter. Like if it's minus 30 out, you're screwed. I don't know what people do if they're registering their vehicles in way up north, because like this truck throw codes all winter. So minus 20 Celsius is kind of the limit for what I'm thinking I can get away with. And even then, like I've got difficulties with the original emission system. So I've got my scanner hooked up here. We're going to go in and check for codes. So the PCM is what really matters, and then the VGT as well. I got some problems with my transmission. It doesn't read the RPM for whatever reason in one of the points here. So I've figured that out eventually, but it doesn't impact doing the emissions. Then there's another problem with something with the auto stick. And then I've got a tail light that's burnt out that I can't get to. And nobody can see it because it's concealed, so it doesn't really matter. So no codes in the dosing control unit or the turbo actuator. So after that gets through, you go into the PCM. Oh, went into the wrong one there. To the PCM. If you had pending codes, it really should have told you already, but you can go in here and read. So there's no pending codes for special functions. We're going to go in here and look for the carb readiness. and so most of them are complete. I'm going to go through a piece of paper and explain these, but there's two that are hard. So the exhaust gas sensor monitor is what I'm going to be tackling tonight, and then the PM filter, you basically need to regen the DPF twice in order to achieve that. So that takes me about 2 tanks of fuel for me going back and forth to work. That's about a half an hour each way, and you try to keep it under like 45 miles an hour, and eventually you'll get the 2 regens, and that's good. You can kind of check a few things in the live data. Right, so I'm not in the right mode for the DPF right now. I need to get this into normal, and so I'm going to take it on the highway to do that, and then there will be some NOx readings here, like your EGR and all that stuff needs to work. Turbo stuff needs to work, shows your boost pressure and whatnot. So your NOx, like right now, I don't think the engine it's not stable because it's not warm yet, but eventually these numbers will start coming in, and if you get some wacky number here on your intake NOx, that's could be because you've got an air leak or something. I've had to mess around with that in the past, or it could just be your turbo is screwed up. And down at the bottom, it'll tell you since the last time you've done a regen. So it's been 10 hours since I've done a regen. So actually I probably shouldn't go on the highway to get into normal. I'm going to get into a bit of a pickle here trying to do these last 2 tests, because I'm going to have a regen competing with my O2 sensors. But there's a good document on the diesel register on how to go through and successfully go through all of the monitors. So the Misfire Monitor is super easy. You just have to meet these conditions and turn the truck on and let it idle for 2 minutes. That's what we're doing right now, no problem. Fuel System Monitor, again, a 1/4 tank. You're not using the PTO, you're not using your high idle or anything like that. You want your after treatment in normal, and you want to do 2 zero fueling events, which is just coasting for 10 seconds, easy enough. For the boost, you're just proving your truck has some boost, so it's just driving around. That's easy. There's only a couple that are hard to get. The EGR monitor, drive it on the highway for 25 minutes, no problem, easy. Pardon me, I fight with these papers. So for the O2s, this is a friggin' nuisance. So you have to drive around like a moron for a while trying to get the truck to do this. So when you got to get it hot, you have to have the thermostat open, and hot with the thermostat open. And you want to be in normal, which I'm not in right now, so I got to get to that point. Then I need to do like 20 decelerations for 10 seconds each, where you take your foot off the pedal, and then after the deceleration you have to kind of speed up, but not jerky. Like you have to accelerate like really timidly, and nothing rapid, no fooling around with the brakes or stepping on the pedal. So he's coasting around. Then you got to find a parking lot, put on your parking brake, put it in park, and kind of rev it up a bit for 2 to 3 minutes, which is going to get some attention. And if you don't have, believe it, you got to do that like 3 times, so that's like 15 minutes of high idling in someone's driveway. It's friggin' annoying, but anyway, that'll do it. That's what I had to do last year to get the truck to pass. The catalyst monitor, is just putter around for 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. And then you just let it idle for 5 minutes after you drive. Yeah, this is going to be a problem if you get home or wherever your destination is and you're doing an active regen. So you don't want that to happen. If you do, you just have to do it again. So the heated catalyst monitor, you need to do 2 D-swits of the DPF, which takes time. It's you have to be careful not to go too fast and won't blow out all the soot. Then the NOx sensors here. Again, so they kind of pick up after you do your first D-soot. So when you're going through the monitors in the system, you're going to be thinking like, man, I've been driving for like 4 days and nothing's happened. Then you're going to start kind of all falling in line after that, with the O2s being the last one that you got to do. So I'm going to go and drive around for a little while and hopefully have this truck all set where I can show you that I was successful with that one monitor, and then the other monitors kind of fall into place. And then at that point, go immediately to your emissions testing place, because you don't want anything to happen after that. You're just going to go there directly and have them do it, because like where I live, you pay the same amount whether you pass or fail, and you've just spent like up to 2 weeks trying to get your truck ready to do the emissions test. The other thing is you cannot reset any codes. If you get a code while this is all happening, unfortunately from my experience, like you're screwed and you got to start over. So that's very disappointing. I had a problem with my grid heater where there's some push-on connectors for the control circuit, and they were wiggling loose, and every once in a while the glow, or not the glow plugs, but the grid heater wouldn't work, and then you get stuck with this. It's like a permanent code, you can't get rid of it, so you got to erase everything and start over. So if you know you've got intermittent codes, you got to deal with that, because you're not going to make it for 2 weeks without a code if you know you've got issues related to the emissions in the engine control system. So that's sort of my long discussion of everything that I think needs to happen to be successful. So I'm going to go and try to complete the mission here. Just did all the driving here, so I'm just on the other side of Kingston now, checking out this plane, RCAF 731. I'm not sure what that plane is. I'm sure there's black on the other side to look at it. Anyway, I got my parking brake on, got my stopwatch out, so I'm going to do 1300 RPM for 3 minutes, 4 times. So hopefully I don't get thrown out of the army base doing this, but we shall find out. Tests have been done, so let's have a look here in the special functions. Carb readiness. It gives me this note here, but I haven't reset the truck since I did it the first time, so see if it works or not. Look at that, we got it complete. So that took a relatively short amount of time. It's 9:13 now, so it took under a half an hour, but it's a bit of goofing. So I feel like the PM filter monitor is probably going to clear out on my way home tomorrow or on the way to the emissions test place. So it's usually okay to have one out, but generally not 2, and it depends on which one it is. So this is really the only one that you need to like work hard to get it. Like you actually have to like sit in a parking lot and rev your engine for 15 minutes. Otherwise the other ones you'll kind of pick up along the way when you're driving. And again, you can't mess with your truck at all. Like no erasing codes, don't take the batteries out, don't do anything unusual, just drive it, make sure it's full, don't put any chemicals in the fuel tank, make sure you've got enough DEF in there that you're going to be okay. And that's sort of it. So I'll post a link to these instructions here from the turbo diesel register, and hopefully this makes your life a little less stressful, and you can get your truck to pass emissions. In Ontario, if you can't, you can re-register under 4,500 kilograms to get rid of the requirement to have the emissions test, and then when you get your truck figured out again, you go and re-sticker it for $64.99, and you'll need to do an emissions test again at that point if your truck is at that age where it needs to do annual emissions. I would say if you're looking for a truck, really have the price set low if it can't pass emissions because of some code. And if its truck is deleted in Ontario, you're never going to register that truck for 6,500 kg. Anything over 4,500, you need emissions. So just don't buy a truck like that, because that's just going to cause you trouble. So if you've got codes, read them. If anything is pointing towards boost, you need a turbo. You don't need an actuator. You need a turbo. Don't mess around with doing a part job. I did that, and it was a waste of time and effort. And yeah, it's check the VIN and make sure that it's got all of the recalls done on it, other than maybe the last one. I think it's 67A. That one is going to that came out in 2023 or 2024. You don't want to get that one done, but you won't have much of a choice if you go to the dealership. But you do need to have the upgraded SCR and all of that. That should have been done like 10 years ago, really. So you're going to want to get that to pass the emissions, and you'll get a new SCR out of it. If it hasn't been done, you can run your VIN on the Dodge website and see where you're at. So again, hopefully you found that interesting and useful, and it saves you some effort. So thank you for watching.